Today we're going to talk about the best and the worst final expense telesales leads for 2024, so let's take it away. My first favorite lead is Facebook leads. So let me give you a few reasons why I really like using Facebook leads for telesales. So first of all, they are absolutely affordable. So a big thing you got to worry about is if you are an agent buying your own leads is making sure that you can afford the lead source you're interested in. Now, a lot of the leads we're going to talk about here later are actually expensive to very expensive. And even though they may be very good forms of leads, if you can't afford the leads, how good are they? So with Facebook leads, they're very affordable. They allow for you to get leads at a fair rate that you can actually sell final expense to. So number 2 on the list here is that Facebook leads are plentiful. So what I mean by when I say plentiful, again, you can get leads that are very good quality, but can you get them in a mass amount? The fact is, with Facebook leads, you absolutely can. If you're running your own Facebook lead campaigns, maybe you're self-generating your leads, or you're buying from a great vendor, you're going to be able to get leads at scale, which is absolutely necessary to your success selling final expense over the phone. Now, along with being plentiful, I also like them because Facebook leads are very scalable. This is kind of an extension of the plentiful point. You need a lead source to be successful in final expense that is scalable. If you can get a few good leads, but you can never get a lot of good leads, and chances are you're not going to make the kind of money that you want to make. For example, in my agency's Facebook lead program called the Alpha Lead Program, we're able to scale agents' leads to 100, 150 plus, even more per week, whether they're buying the leads or they're in our free lead program getting the leads for free. So again, in final expense, you need a scalable form of lead, and Facebook is very good at that. And one more thing I think is very important to understand with your Facebook people is that they are all full of old people. Now, what I mean by that, of course, is that, how many young people do you see on Facebook? It's very rare now. Facebook is probably one of the oldest social media platforms out there, and the boomers are really the last holdout. Granted, there are a lot of people on Facebook, but there's a ton of boomers, our primary target market in final expense, that are on Facebook using it on a regular basis to check in on their kids and their grandkids, looking at pictures, wasting time just like everybody else, right? But the point is that if you're gonna be successful at selling anything, you gotta find the market in which they are on. And old people are all over Facebook, so that's a big reason to continue using that. And that doesn't seem like it's gonna change anytime soon. So now let's talk about a bad lead. And the first bad lead is, direct mail leads. So let's talk about direct mail. You see, direct mail is great for face-to-face, but bad for telesales. Here's the reason why. You see, when you're doing telesales, one of the biggest challenges you're gonna have is people actually getting to pick up the phone. It's not the no's that are going to destroy you, it's the maybes. It's the maybe they will pick up the phone, maybe they won't, many times they don't. In other words, we call it the connection rate in the business. And the thing with direct mail is because their cost point is so high, and because direct mail many times doesn't include the actual phone number, you're gonna have a sunk cost of leads that is going to drive up your average lead cost even more. And because that price point is so high, it makes it, to me, not a viable source of leads. There's other leads that are in a similar range of price point that have 100% connection. More on that in a little bit. So this is a big reason I'm not a big fan of direct mail. Keep it for the face-to-face agents, but not for telesales agents. Another issue with direct mail is the high acquisition costs. In other words, like I said, direct mail these days is costing around $50 to $60 a piece if you got a decent lead that doesn't have any bribes or send this back for some free money kind of thing attached to it. And again, because that cost point is so high, it is prohibitory or preventative towards new agents coming in and buying, because many agents, they think, well, I could buy $50, $60 leads and maybe I could afford 15 to 20 of them, but you can take the same amount of spend, say it's $1,000 a week, and then plug that back into Facebook leads like we were talking earlier, and you can conceivably get 100 to 200 leads in that range, depending on the leads that you're using and the price point. Point is, there's a lot more volume capability, which is necessary for your success in telesales that you just simply can't get with the direct mail lead. And here's another problem I don't like about direct mail, especially with telesales, is that it's a very slow turnaround. So what I mean by slow is that when you order direct mail, you don't get them within a couple of days. It takes a couple of weeks. Sometimes it can take a month plus, depending on where in the country you're dropping and the time that it takes to get turned around. And that's a lot of money that's tied up in your biggest and most important resource, which is your people to talk to. Whereas if you use something like a Facebook lead program, like our Alpha Lead program, as soon as you put your order in, chances are you're getting leads within the next couple of days, so that you need less money to operate and have leads coming in, which means that you have a quicker turnaround to working and selling final expense. Let's do another bad lead, shall we? It works, sort of. Live transfer leads. So let's talk about live transfers. Live transfers are basically where calls come into you purportedly ready, interested, and able to buy. So why would I be against a type of call that you don't have to make the outbound dial to and just exclusively work those people who allegedly are interested? So the first issue with these live transfers is the fact that they are a TCPA landmine field. So what is the TCPA? It is essentially the regulatory body that regulates phone conversations for the purpose of solicitation of trying to sell somebody something. And you see, the issue in our business is that a lot of these live transfers are generated overseas in the Philippines, in Pakistan, and those call centers are outside of the federal jurisdiction of America. And even though you may instruct a call center to not violate the do not call list or not call a certain series of leads that have been called before, there is no way to actually keep them accountable to that for the average agent. And what ends up happening a lot of the times is that the calls that are made are people who are already on the do not call list, and there is a flurry of professional litigants that will go after you, the agent, not the guy in Pakistan, and will sue you for $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 for each illegal call that you allegedly make against him. Give you a perfect example. I had an agency join my agency that bought some of these live transfers off of Fiverr from Pakistan, and literally the first call that he made, he only got 5 live transfers. That's all he bought, by the way. The first call he made was to a professional litigant, and they ended up suing his LLC for like $40,000 or $45,000. He was stuck in court trying to fight it, eventually won. But think of all the heartache, the stress, and the pressure that caused that could have easily been avoided by avoiding this type of lead. The other thing with live transfers too is that it's not scalable. So I've seen this time and again, and we used to try this before really the professional litigants got out of hand. We would hire a call center, sometimes in the States, and then try to get them to scale their operations. But the problem is they just didn't have enough data and enough people to keep the operation running at full tilt so that we could keep our agents as busy as possible. A lot of agents come to me saying the same thing. They started a live transfer program. It worked pretty well for a short period of time, but then it fell apart because the operational structure just wasn't there to keep it going like it should have. Again, you don't want to rely on a lead source as an agency or an agent where every 3 to 4 months you've got to worry about, hey, is this thing going to last? And I got to switch everything all over again. My advice is to stick with duplicatable, scalable, and repeatable types and forms of leads so that you can focus in and not worry about scrambling to find a new lead source. And here's the last thing that really should put the lid on any kind of live transfers, and that they will be absolutely illegal. They're already a problem with the TCPA stuff, right? Like we've already made that clear. But the FCC has passed a rule at the end of 2023 stating that the way in which most of these TCPA, or I should say, the way that most of these live transfers are generated will be illegal. You see, what live transfers rely on is simply these dubious forms of data collection. And then they call these leads, and then in many times allow those leads to be resold or offered to a multitude of different agencies. So this is why you have seniors like literally pulling out what hair remains on their head, because they get called 1 million times for final expense or 1 million times for other products like Medicare. And so this new act is going to shut down all of this anyway. So why would you do something like live transfers when the way in which it's generated is likely going to be illegal? Now for my second favorite final expense telesales lead, TV leads. So now let's switch gears and talk about a second source of leads that I really like, and that is TV leads. So what is a TV lead? A TV lead is where somebody is sitting around watching television, and then an ad about life insurance comes up. then the client calls a 1-800 number on a whim and then enters a sales conversation right away. A lot of people love these kind of leads because they lead to an instant conversation with somebody who initiated the call, which usually means, first of all, the intent is very high. So the intent, by the way, just in case you aren't familiar with the lingo, is that intent is a measure of how interested somebody actually is in what it is that you're selling. So for example, an intent with some sort of cold call is very low. Why? Because the person, the prospect, wasn't suspecting that you would call them. So there's a big hill to traverse for you as the agent to convince a stranger who's completely ice cold to what it is that you're selling to buy. But you flip that around, and let's say you have an ad that displays the benefits of burial insurance. They've likely seen it a number of times, and now they are placing the call to you, the agent. Don't you think that the interest level is going to be higher? And that's what we mean by high intent. And agents love high intent leads because it lowers the stress level of the agent and it allows them to sell a higher percentage of the presentations that they give. So another thing about TV leads is that they are scalable. Again, that is a factor, of course, with all good leads, is that you have a lead source that's high quality, but also scalable. With the TV leads, you can scale because there are millions of people who are watching TV every day. Many of the people who are watching cable news these days are the older generation. And so you're buying right into, I think, a great audience to work TV leads in. But TV leads are not all rainbows and sunshine. There are some downsides that you guys need to be prepared for. Number one, with TV leads, they are very, very expensive. You see, with TV leads, your average costs, if you're going to a good vendor, are probably going to be north of $60, maybe even $70 per lead. So that means the volume side of this business that's important to have, it's unlikely that you're going to get the volume that you'd like to have. Again, granted, the flip side is TV leads tend to be higher intent. So you got to weigh out, do you want more leads to have the safety in numbers, or are you comfortable paying a very high price for a higher intent lead? And the other side of this is that because the price points are so high, what you find with many of these TV lead options is that you end up being in a call center in order to actually work them. So you're in a situation where you're probably a line of authority agent. You're not going to be maxing out your compensation. Yes, you're going to get access to good leads, but at a tremendous cost to what your earning power is going to be. And so this is one of those downsides. You know, you can get a great lead, but you may not make a lot of money working a great lead like you might if you're working a standard Facebook lead like in our Alpha Lead program that allows you to maximize your compensation without the huge expense of working a TV lead. Point is, TV leads are great, but you have to have the financial capacity to afford them as a broker or be willing to take a very low contract in order to afford them as a line of authority agent where they're free, but you're not making a lot of money. And I've saved the worst lead for last, and that is data leads. Now, you guys have to please pay attention to what I'm about to talk to because these form of leads are the most common. They're what the 3-letter IMOs and MLMs out there are offering you. And they're also so much problems. They cause so many issues that if there's anything that you pay attention to, it is what I'm about to describe. And then my suggestion is to listen to me, not work these leads, and find another IMO or an organization that will actually provide you high quality leads that will get you what you want. So what are data leads? So data leads have been all the rage in the insurance business as well as really in marketing the past couple of years. The idea was very simple. With the advent of the D&C rules and getting rid of a lot of the technology to scale a bunch of leads all at once, the data leads have come in and basically have given the ability for marketers to generate a very low cost lead at scale. So the way these works is simple. So there's a lot of these ads out there and things that you'll go through in the process of maybe getting a quote where you'll answer questions about different aspects, almost like a survey type of situation. And as you fill out this information, you might be thinking, okay, they're asking me questions like, do you value peace of mind if you die and get life insurance, right? Do you value life insurance, right? And you answer yes to that. And so what you've done inadvertently is given permission to organizations to sell that data that you've given, and that is in return turned into a lead in which now agents can purchase and work. But the problem with it is that, what did we talk about with our other lead sources that we like, TV leads and Facebook leads? The thing about them is that the intent level is good. TV leads is the highest intent. But with data leads, it is absolutely low to no intent. And so when you call on these leads, and this is what I've talked to over the years with agents who've worked these, when you call on these leads, these prospects don't even know what they did. They don't have any recollection of actually requesting information. And so you're in this position where you've talked to these people and you bought these leads that your uplines have told you are great, and now you're in a position where nobody's really interested. It's very frustrating, and then there's many agents who have wasted thousands and thousands of dollars on these various forms of leads to fail out of the business. Another thing about data leads, what you'll find is that they're regularly resold. So that means is that once the lead is generated, and they're sold to you, the agent, they're actually resold to other agents over time. I had an agent local to me that went with an MLM, and basically what he told me was he was calling on leads that other agents with the same MLM had basically said that had called those leads too. So he was the fourth, fifth, sixth person deep, and it's very frustrating. And you may ask, well, why would these organizations sell these kind of leads? Because they're a huge profit center. You see, to get data leads, because they're so cheap and low intent, they're inexpensive. And so what happens is that the leads may be 10 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents a lead, but then these organizations, unbeknownst to you, mark them up to $9, $10, $11 a lead and make a huge killing in selling that lead, not just once, but multiple times. Think about it. They paid 25 cents, worst case scenario, to get a lead acquired through one of these data sources. And then they sell it 5 times. That's a $50 revenue for a cost of 25 cents. So their net profit on selling this lead is $49.75. Now imagine they're doing that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times a week. Trust me, it's way more than that. It is nothing more than a huge profit source for these MLMs, so much so that a particular organization has come out after this ruling came out. They've lowered their commissions by 20% from their first starting compensation to, in my opinion, offset the losses that they're going to get because they cannot pull this lead scam on agents anymore. Because here's the thing, back what we were talking about earlier with live transfers, it is now illegal. You are going to be in a position by the midsummer 2024, where buying these data leads is not going to be legal if they're set up in a way that they could be resold. It's got to be a one-to-one type of lead strategy to where the lead being generated is going to a particular person or company and can only be used once. And so the good news with TV leads, with Facebook leads, as I mentioned earlier, those are all one-to-one compliant. You don't have the compliant issues to worry about, but with data leads, again, big reason they're going away and why you shouldn't use them, because they're going to be a huge source of compliance issues and possibly put you in legal crosshairs. So what did you think about these leads? Do you agree with me that Facebook leads and TV leads are the best? Do you think that some of those worst leads are actually good? Feel free to comment below and tell me your thoughts. If you're looking for a final expense telesales agency to join, that's what we do at the Dig Agency. That is my company. We've worked for 10 plus years recruiting and training agents. We have fantastic success in the final expense sales market over the phone. We teach agents intimately and do lots of training, lots of coaching, lots of mentoring. We have a great lead program, and we have free leads available to agents that don't want to buy their own. Just go to daviddufour.com to learn more, and thank you so much for watching.